And today our topic is International Lunar Research Station and also an international science project. Because we know we have worshipped the moon for thousands of years, and today that's one of our topics. And over the past decades, and many countries and regions have launched numerous satellites and made manned spacecraft to study the moon, and also brought lunar samples and also a large amount of scientific data. But how shall scientists study the moon better? And why not work together to jointly develop our lunar surface? So today we will have this special forum on the International Lunar Research Station, the International Science Project. And this is scalable and maintainable, comprehensive and global partners. So today is our great honor to have several distinguished guests. I want to introduce them one by one. Professor Wang Qiong from the Lunar Exploration and Space Engineering Center of the China National Space Administration. And also Dr. Yu Dengyun from the China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation. He's a Deputy Director of the Science and Technology Committee. And it's our great pity that Mr. Serdar İdilya, Chairman and of the Board and the President of Turkish Space Agency, couldn't join us this afternoon. And also we'll have the Thomas Zubichin. He's an Associate Administrator of the Science Mission Directorate at the American Space Agency, NASA. And also Dr. Xi Xiangyu, Deep Space Exploration Laboratory Engineer of System Research Institute. And these distinguished guests will provide us with details of the International Lunar Research Station later. And today's forum is mainly organized by China National Space Administration. And thank you very much. And we are very pleased to welcome Mr. Li Guoping, the engineer of China National Space Administration, to give us a welcoming speech. Welcome.
尊敬的各位来宾、女士们、先生们、朋友们，大家下午好。
Dear distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and my space fellows, good afternoon.
我谨代表中国国家航天局对各位到来表示热烈的欢迎。
On behalf of China National Space Administration, I would like to extend a warm welcome for you.
居在里海的明珠，古老美丽的巴库。千年来，巴库作为丝绸之路的枢纽，见证了中华文明与世界的交融和发展。
The annual International Astronautical Congress brings us together in the Pearl of Caspian Sea, the ancient and beautiful Baku. For thousands of years, Baku, as an interchange of Silk Road, has witnessed the integration and development of Chinese civilization and the rest of the world.
这里有太空探索梦想的起航。50年前，第24届国际宇航大会曾在这里主席。半个世纪以来，我们为全人类在探索外空中取得的伟大成就而深受鼓舞。
This is the beginning of space exploration. The 2014 IEC was held here 50 years ago. Over the past half-century, we are inspired by the great achievements made by human space exploration.
我们欣喜地看到，中间越来越多的国家制定了宏伟的规划，探索宇宙未知的奥秘。
We are pleased to see space exploration has become more active than ever before, and more countries has formulated their ambitious plans to explore the unknown and mysteries of the vast universe.
国际月球科研站就是其中一项庞大的探测计划，我们真诚地欢迎国际社会共同参与这个。
The International Lunar Research Station is also one of the above exploration programs. On behalf of CNSA, we sincerely welcome the joint participation from the International Space Fellows.
我们提出了和平开发利用、共商共建共享、 合作形式多样，共享科学成果，保护月球资源，成立合作组织的合作倡议，愿与国际伙伴一起，在外空条约等国际空间法则的指导下开展合作。
We have released the cooperative initiatives of peaceful exploration, shared consultation of collaboration, diversified cooperation, scientific result sharing, lunar resource protection, and cooperative organization establishment. We are willing to cooperate with international partners and the guardians of outer space treaty and other principles of international space laws.
目前，我们已经完成了月球探测的绕、落、回3步走的战略。
Now China has successfully implemented the orbiting, landing, and returning for lunar exploration.
刚才在航天局长论坛上，我也介绍了这个后续的嫦娥6、7、83个工程的情况。
And on the Space Leaders 101 Forum, I have mentioned about China's further lunar exploration missions.
在今天论坛上，国家航天局将发布嫦娥8号任务国际合作的机遇公告，也欢迎国际伙伴在更高层次上加入我们的任务。
Today, CNSA will officially announce the International
Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Yin. On behalf of Professor Wu Lei, the chief designer of China Chang'e program, I'm honored to here today to present the report International Lunar Research Station, International Science Project. My report includes 4 parts. One is project background. As you know, Moon is the transit station toward further deep space. Is an important way to start the 3 solar system and innovation. The development and utilization of lunar resources is of great significance to the sustainable development of mankind. Moon is closest celestial object to the Earth. Mankind has explored the more than 130 times. Finished 3 steps of lunar exploration. Chang'e 1, Chang'e 2, Chang'e 3, Chang'e 4, and Chang'e 5. Named, orbiting, landing, and in future, we will propose the International Station. For human civilization, proposal. The International Lunar Research Station concept, initiator and participants, scalable and maintainable, and comprehensive automation, short-term manned is round chief, lunar scientific research, and ground support. Technology variation. Our approach is to peaceful use, equality, and mutual benefit, inclusive development. Our contribution to the peaceful use of space and construction of community with a shared future for the mankind. Lunar geology, your very some oaths release and resource utilization. They have three a close and build an engineering facility system. The third is transportation and operation facility. Establish the Churchill constellation. Three, part three, existing from 2004 years, China has finished 5 missions, have a major leap in space technology capability. We have obtained main first in space science exploration, include the 7-meter resource resolution major moon. Living lunar resources and so on. This aspects of cooperation include 7 aspects about joint proposal, strategy definition, data sharing, joint operation, technology cooperation, and collaborative design. The cooperation opportunities Chang'e 8 and ILS from 1 to 5 missions. We have 1A, B, C, D, E, F, 6 level. We will establish the organization named International Lunar Research Station Cooperation Organizations to jointly develop ILS projects, jointly manage facility, and share scientific research results. About funders, the first signatories will enjoy more favorable terms, more rights, and more results as funding members. About the organization structure, we will establish the mechanism of council governance, founding members and signatory members jointly participate. Non-governmental entities and individuals are welcome. And finally, we welcome all countries with joint hands in the International Lunar Research Station. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Yu Dengyun, for your brief introduction. And we know that the moon remains a familiar but mysterious celestial body. This International Lunar Research Station will help us better understand our moon. And now let's welcome Mr. Thomas Zuberchin, also known as Dr. Z. And he will share with us the theme of lunar science and exploration through international and commercial partnerships. Welcome.
Well, I don't know about you, but I see these plans and I'm really excited. I'm especially excited if I consider what just happened in the last month here. This morning, Japan announced that their SLIM lander is going from Earth orbit to lunar injection orbit. Just last weekend, the OSIRIS-REx mission came back with samples from asteroid Bennu and landed in Utah. Samples that will be shared with the international community. And over a month ago, India landed on the moon and did amazing work that astonished all of us with science within a short time, really complementing the good work that has happened elsewhere. What I'm going to talk to you about is very much a complementary part to what our colleagues from China already talked about. Namely, how to explore that neighbor of ours, the moon. Exploring the moon is really, really difficult. You can learn that from the statistics of successful landings on the moon. You can learn that roughly 50% of those were not successful over time. Of course, this picture taken by astronauts kind of coming back from an orbit around the moon, looking at Earth, reminds us that exploring the moon, of course, just like our colleagues from China told us, not only changes our understanding of the moon, but also the relationship of the moon and the Earth, and hence the history of the Earth. Many questions about the moon or about Earth cannot be explored on Earth alone. Frankly, the absolute age of cratering and so forth needs to come from the moon, because the Earth has a surface that's very much too young as it goes through erosion, geologic changes, and so forth. I want to tell you personally, I'm a second-generation person related to lunar research. That experiment standing next to Neil Armstrong on the surface of the moon is an experiment that was built in Switzerland, where I grew up. And I did my PhD in a room where the lab was situated that analyzed the solar wind that was collected there. Again, another objective that was just mentioned. The moon, of course, is bathed in plasma that comes from the sun and from the Earth's magnetosphere, and so are the particles there. I want to tell you, it took until a little bit after my PhD thesis in the year 2000 or so, where the isotopic composition of the solar wind was measured more accurately than from this very simple experiment from the moon, a little chocolate foil, as we always called it, Professor Geis imagined and brought back to Earth together with Apollo. So for me, what this picture means to me is really that ideas of the type that are being talked about as piggyback here and elsewhere should really be broad and should be imaginative. And sometimes the simplest experiments have the longest longevity in terms of the scientific value, such as this one. So the picture, of course, we have is a lunar exploration program that we've all learned in the history books. I was not there, but a program that looked like this to a program that's this, which has many different countries, commercial entities, national entities, European, Chinese, Indian, Japanese, Russian, and so forth, entities that work together to explore the moon, and of course a moon that is very much different than the moon that we left after Apollo. The moon that we left after Apollo we thought to be entirely dry, and one of the reasons that the landings that were outlined here, of course, are planned to go to the southern pole is because of the fact that it has been shown through remote observations that in fact water or volatile components should be in the surface of the moon, as indicated here from a result from a remote sensing mission. By the way, we have no idea as of yet how to translate what is remotely observed volatiles into actual in situ measurements, and that's why rovers of the type that were indicated are so important. Rovers that actually take samples and do ground-penetrating radar and other X-ray measurements of the type that one of the 14 experiments that you just saw discussed are really critical for making that translation from remote sensing to in situ observations to really tie together and answer the question, how volatile rich is the moon? Could we use it, for example, as a base for exploration to Mars right there, because we can actually make the fuel on the surface of the moon? Those are questions that are related. It's really important to recognize that there's multiple strategies that are at play. You heard the Chinese strategy right now, which is one that's very much driven, systematic, and very much logical in its approach, kind of from step to step. A strategy that's being pursued in the United States and with other international partners is one that really takes commercial actors and actually makes them, gives them the ability to prove that in fact they can land on the surface of the moon and deliver cargo, deliver experiments that could be going there. Now I just want to tell you, you should not be surprised after looking at the statistics of lunar exploration in the past that it is hard to be a commercial partner and do this. And frankly, as before the end of the year, my full expectation is that 2 of those landers will take off from Earth and will actually seek to land at the surface of the moon. When I was at NASA, Congress always asked me, what's the likelihood of that? And I said 50%. And they asked and asked again, and I said 50%, because frankly, that's roughly, as I said, what the long-term average is of humanity against the moon. It's like an average soccer team that is winning about 50%. Of course, my hope is that we'll be more successful, but you see, by doing that, we create economic engine and kind of a series of players that can support many activities that are going to the surface of the moon, such as human activities at the surface in conjunction with, of course, flying activities around it, such as small gateway research station that is up there, that is inhabited at times by international astronauts, and can be used to really learn and get a better feeling for long-term living in space, doing work, also biological experiments, in the relevant environment that is the environment away from the Earth magnetosphere, which is where the space station is now. There's many things we can do there. There's many things we cannot do in low Earth orbit, and that's why it's important to go elsewhere and get that practice as we go forward. See landers, commercial landers, but then also rovers, both pressurized and non-pressurized, are in the future of that as we move towards surface habitats and building up staging capabilities and surface exploration, very much aligned with the kind of work that you just saw. Work that is motivated by the same kind of values, by the same science, and the desire to do so internationally. And also, as you just heard in the previous talk right ahead of me, work that is not only looking at the moon, but with one eye is looking at Mars already, because many of these activities, whether it's being in orbit and transfer through the gateway and then a Mars program, all the way through mobile expedition, duration, and autonomous robotic systems, all of these have analogs on the moon and on Mars with different environments, different kind of lighting, energy, and other environments, and that's why kind of working on the moon extensively will be critical before we go, in fact, to Mars. The previous speaker talked a lot about values, and I want to do so too. As many players go to the moon and work with peaceful purposes on the moon, just like good neighborhoods here on Earth, the rules need to be clear. And what's absolutely critical is what you just saw demonstrated here, is an openness to actually tell each other what we're going to do and why. It's also clarity and transparency of not only as we're going, but also after the fact, kind of telling each other what we found. Together, we're one community, one science community, one that works together. And for me to actually prove that certain science results are really reproducible, are accessible by others, and frankly, good ideas that somebody may have somewhere else, like in Switzerland, could be utilized, it's absolutely critical that the science is open. And so for me, that collaborative culture is absolutely critical. And as we go to the moon, we have a chance to really get that right. I want to tell you, in my work at NASA, I spent quite some time here and there talking to various international partners, including China, about a variety of issues. And for me, I just really believe we have a good start in what we have heard here, what has happened. For example, the Chang data are public, and many people are publishing with it. And I think that that's a wonderful thing. The same is true with LRO, other lunar data. There's still ways to go, I believe, that we can all do and really bring together and create an international discussion of exploration for this amazing celestial neighbor we have. For example, as we have samples here on Earth, which is what's going to be demonstrated with the OSIRIS-REx mission, my full expectation is that samples are exchanged. Frankly, that is what we should be doing. That's what we have done in the past. And my full belief is that that is what will also give us the support in all of our countries to go forward and continue to work. So as I get off the stage, I just want to show you a picture that was taken during the Artemis 1 mission as the spacecraft, the Orion spacecraft built by the European Space Agency and the United States was leaving Earth and kind of went towards the moon. You see the Earth there, kind of very insignificant planet kind of in front of a very dark background. And what reminds us, this picture reminds us that we're here together on one planet. And I want to just tell you how excited I am to work in a space community where we can transcend some of the boundaries and borders that separate us here on Earth and work together as an international community and aspire together to make sure that our society has the ability of not only changing where it lives away from Earth, but also changing its various spheres, the spheres of knowledge, the economic spheres, and others. So thank you for including me in this session, and I wish everybody the best of luck as we go together and explore the moon. Thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Z, for your highlights of the international collaboration, especially we know that the International Lunar Projects are huge projects which has different systems, including rockets, satellites, manned space flight, and also not to mention about these interesting experiments on the lunar surface. And also communication plays a very key role in these projects. Now let's welcome Dr. Xixiang Yu, Deep Space Exploration Laboratory. He's an engineer of Space Research Institute. He will tell us more about the Queqiao satellite constellation. Welcome.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Xixiang Yu from the Deep Space Exploration Laboratory. Today, the title of my presentation is Queqiao System for Communication, Navigation, and Remote Sensing. Earth is the cradle of humanity, but is Earth the only home for humankind, and do we exist alone in the universe? And what are we headed in the future? Humanity cannot live on Earth forever. The exploration and discovery of unknown in the universe is the internal motivation of humanity development. Stepping out of the Earth's cradle has been an internal aspiration of humankind. There are many myths and legends in China that reflect ancient Chinese people's fantasies about the universe. For example, like the Chang'e flies to the moon or the Tianwen explores the universe. There are three major directions for deep space exploration: lunar exploration, planetary exploration, and solar system exploration. This exploration will help us to explore the unknown in the universe, expand the boundary of human activities and knowledge, and search for the extraterrestrial life to prove that we are not alone in the universe. In the meantime, it could help us to protect our Earth's cradle from asteroid impact and solar eruption. For example, the solar flares and sunspots. Improve the ability to enter, understand, and utilize the space is very important. This is the developmental version of China's deep space exploration in recent decades. For lunar exploration, China will implement Chang'e 6, 7, and 8 missions before 2030, and then establish lunar research stations before 2050. And for planetary exploration, China will implement Tianwen 2, 3, and 4 missions and Tianwen series missions step by step, and then establish Mars Research Station. The near-Earth asteroid defense will be carried out simultaneously and to achieve the impact, push-off, control of the asteroid. The solar system observation, heliosphere observation, and exoplanet observation are the primary tasks of the solar system exploration. So to achieve the above vision, we need for the development of deep space exploration. In the deep space exploration missions, the ground needs to obtain the accurate position of the probe, monitor its status, and realize the transmission of massive data. For the probe, it will also acquire an amount of detection data and process on-orbit payload information. So all these requirements put high demands on communication, navigation, and remote sensing. and the development of the new technologies will support the more complex deep space exploration in the future. So here we propose the Qiuqiao system for communication, navigation, and remote sensing to fulfill all the requirements. The orientation of the Qiuqiao system is about the international space infrastructure and public service platform. And the basic compositions are circumlunar and Earth-Moon Liberation Point spacecraft, interplanetary staging stations, and planetary orbiting spacecraft. Its design principles are functional modularity, interface standardization, and design digitalization. And the service scope will cover Earth-Moon space, interplanetary space, and heliosphere. This is the general plan of Qiuqiao system. The basic completion of the Earth-Moon space communication capability is to serve the Lunar Exploration Phase 4 and the International Lunar Research Station. And for the Qiuqiao version 2, the full completion of the Earth-Moon space communication, navigation, and remote sensing capability will be done to serve for the manned lunar exploration and the international lunar exploration. And we plan to establish the construction of the preliminary deep space system for communication, navigation, and remote sensing capability to cover the interplanetary space and serve for the exploration of Mars, Venus, and heliosphere. For Qiuqiao version 1, the general objectives are to establish the basic completion of the Earth-Moon space communication capability, including the validation of key technologies such as network, navigation, and remote sensing. For Qiuqiao 2 relay satellite, it will provide the communication service for the Lunar Exploration Phase 4. And for Tiandu 1 and Tiandu 2 satellite, it will verify the precise orbit measuring technology and for the communication technology. And for the Qiuqiao 3 series, it will contain the communication, navigation, and remote sensing satellites to support the lunar exploration. And the overall objective for Qiuqiao version 2 is to establish an Earth-Moon main link and realize the whole Moon communication and remote sensing, as well as regional navigations. In one of the design, the system will contain a totally 16 satellites that located at the Earth-Moon Liberation Point, the circumlunar orbit, and in the large elliptical frozen orbit. And the lunar field network will composed of multiple nodes on the lunar surface. The lander and the Lunar Research Station could be used as the base station to provide UHF or Wi-Fi links to other nodes on the lunar surface, and use other ways to communicate with the satellite on the orbit and the stations on Earth. And the Qiuqiao version 3 considers the needs for interplanetary communication and navigation. It will develop and launch a series of relay satellites and interplanetary staging stations of Mars and Venus. The system and serve will be updated to establish the basic completion of deep space communication and navigation system, and to achieve the communication and navigation coverage of the Mars and Venus. Step out of the Earth cradle, explore and discover the unknown universe. Thank you for listening.
Okay, Thank you, Dr. Xi Xiangyu. And after hearing so many interesting introduction and also exploration of China's proposed International Lunar Research Station, I believe that all global partners are welcome to join this huge project in the next few years. And I think that's pretty much for our today's GM Forum. And I believe that with this long-term base, we will have more interesting exploration and projects on the moon. I think maybe one day our ordinary people may have the chance to go to the moon to study, and even our reporters and journalists may have the chance to go there. And if one day I have the chance, I would like to be the first one. I would like to tell you more about what is happening on the lunar surface, on the far side of the moon. Okay, that's all for our GI Forum. Thank you so much for your attention. And thank you for IAF and also Cosmos, especially China National Space Administration, for giving me this opportunity to host this panel. And see you next time. Thank you.